The night it happened was ordinary in a way that later felt cruel. It was late October in a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio. The kind of neighborhood where porch lights stayed on out of habit and children rode their bikes until the streetlights flickered awake. Daniel Harper was 7 years old, small for his age, with a habit of humming to himself when he walked. His mother, Melissa, remembered that hum more than anything else after he vanished. She said it echoed in the house for weeks, even when she knew it couldn't be real. Daniel had been playing in the front yard after dinner, while Melissa folded laundry just inside the open front door. She could see him through the screen, sitting on the curb with his toy cars, pushing them through piles of dry leaves. His father, Eric, was still at work, running late like he often did. At 7:18 p.m., Melissa checked her phone. At 7:21 p.m., she looked up again, and Daniel was gone. At first, she assumed he had gone around the side of the house to chase a squirrel or had wandered into the backyard. She called his name once, then again, irritation creeping into her voice. When there was no answer, she stepped outside. The street was empty. The cars were still there. His toy cars were still lined up neatly on the curb, as if he had stood up and walked away mid-game. That was the first moment fear touched her, light at first, like a cold finger on the spine. She ran down the sidewalk, calling his name louder now, checking behind parked cars, looking between houses. A neighbor across the street said they had seen Daniel earlier, but not in the last 10 minutes. Another neighbor said they thought they heard a car door slam, but they weren't sure. By 7:32 p.m., Melissa was dialing 911 with shaking hands, trying to explain between sobs that her son was missing, that he had been right there, that this didn't make sense. Police arrived quickly. Patrol cars flooded the street with red and blue light, turning the neighborhood into something unreal, like a movie set. Officers knocked on doors, asked questions, took notes. They searched yards, sheds, garages. A canine unit arrived, and the dog picked up Daniel's scent near the curb, followed it for half a block, and then stopped abruptly near the intersection, whining and circling as if confused. The handler said later that it was like the trail had simply ended. That detail would become important in the days to come. The FBI joined the case within 24 hours. Amber alerts went out across the state. Daniel's face appeared on highway signs, on television, on social media feeds. Melissa and Eric gave interviews, standing side by side, holding a photo of their son, begging whoever had him to bring him home. Melissa barely slept. When she did, she dreamed of Daniel standing at the foot of her bed, humming, his face always turned away. Investigators worked under the assumption that Daniel had been taken by someone in a vehicle. There were no signs of a struggle, no screams reported, no witnesses who saw anything clearly. One neighbor's security camera captured a dark-colored SUV driving slowly down the street around 7:20, but the footage was grainy, the license plate unreadable. The vehicle could not be definitively linked to the disappearance, but it was all they had. Days turned into weeks. Search teams combed nearby woods, fields, and abandoned buildings. Divers searched creeks and retention ponds. Volunteers walked in lines, eyes on the ground, hoping and dreading to find something. Nothing was found. No backpack, no clothing, no trace of Daniel beyond that quiet suburban street. As time passed, rumors began to spread, as they always do. Some people whispered that Eric knew more than he was saying. Others suggested Melissa had been distracted, that maybe this was her fault. Online forums dissected their interviews, their body language, the way Melissa cried, the way Eric didn't cry enough. Police cleared both parents after extensive questioning, but suspicion lingered like a stain that wouldn't wash out. 3 months after Daniel vanished, a letter arrived at the police station. It was handwritten, unsigned, and postmarked from a town 2 hours away. It contained only a single sentence: he didn't suffer long. The handwriting was uneven, the letters pressed hard into the paper. No fingerprints were recovered. The envelope had been licked, but DNA testing yielded nothing usable. The letter could not be conclusively linked to the case, but it changed everything. Melissa collapsed when detectives showed it to her. Eric punched a hole in the wall of the interview room. Despite the letter, there was no body, no proof of death. Legally, Daniel remained missing. Emotionally, his parents were trapped in a place between hope and grief that slowly destroyed them. Their marriage fractured under the weight of unanswered questions. Eric moved out after a year. Melissa stayed in the house, unable to leave the place where Daniel had been last seen. That was when the noises started. At first, she told herself it was the house settling, old pipes knocking in the walls. Then she began to hear footsteps at night, light ones moving from the living room toward the hallway. Sometimes she heard a soft humming, the same tune Daniel used to hum, tuneless and repetitive. She would sit up in bed, heart pounding, listening, tears soaking into her pillow. When she turned on the lights, the house was empty. Friends suggested she move, see a therapist, take medication. She tried. Nothing stopped the sounds. One night she followed them. The humming led her to the front door. The door was unlocked. She knew she always locked it. Melissa called the police again. Officers searched the house and found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no evidence of anyone else being there. They gently suggested stress, trauma, hallucinations. Melissa nodded and thanked them, but she knew what she was hearing. She knew it in her bones. 2 years after Daniel disappeared, another child went missing in a town 40 miles away. A 6-year-old girl taken from her driveway under eerily similar circumstances. The case reignited media attention, and for a brief moment, hope flared that the cases might be connected, that answers might finally come. But the girl was found 3 days later, alive, abandoned near a rest stop. She couldn't describe her abductor clearly, only that he smelled like gasoline and told her to be quiet because the other one didn't listen. Police questioned her extensively, but trauma had fractured her memories. Composite sketches led nowhere. No arrests were made. The words, "the other one," haunted Melissa. They played over and over in her mind, a cruel echo of possibility. Years passed. The case went cold. Daniel's bedroom remained untouched, a frozen moment in time. Dust settled on his shelves, but Melissa refused to clean. On the 10th anniversary of his disappearance, she organized a small vigil on the street where he was last seen. Candles flickered, people cried. Someone placed a small toy car on the curb. That night, Melissa heard knocking. It was slow and deliberate, 3 taps on the front door. She stood in the hallway for a long time, unable to move, staring at the door as if it might breathe. The knocking came again. When she finally opened it, there was no one there. On the porch, sitting neatly in front of the door, was one of Daniel's toy cars, the same one he had been playing with the night he vanished. Police were called. The toy was bagged, tested, examined. It was old, weathered, but unmistakably Daniel's. How it survived all those years, where it had been, who had placed it there, none of that could be answered. No fingerprints, no DNA, just another piece of the puzzle that made no sense. Melissa died the following winter. Officially, it was heart failure. Unofficially, everyone knew she had been dying for years. The house was sold. New owners moved in, unaware of its history at first. They lasted 6 months. They told neighbors they heard a child walking at night, that they found the front door unlocked in the morning, that sometimes, very late, they heard humming coming from the street. The case of Daniel Harper remains unsolved. His name is still in databases, still listed as missing, not deceased. Somewhere in a filing cabinet is a box with his photo, his age permanently frozen at 7. Detectives who worked the case say it still bothers them, the way the trail ended so cleanly, the way nothing ever surfaced. Some nights, people who live on that street swear they see a small figure standing near the curb, head bent, as if playing with something in the leaves. When cars pass, the figure is gone. Police have responded to these calls more than once. They have never found anyone. And sometimes, very early in the morning, before the neighborhood wakes up, someone leaves a small toy car on the curb, perfectly placed, as if waiting for a boy who never came back.